locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks!
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm the best in the world.
Boy, I think that's the sound he made as he came crashing down into the canvas.
What?
Last weekend.
Oh, that's
CM Punk, right?
Of course it's CM
that's
Punk.
Right. That's what I thought.
All right, take it easy. Don't be making fun of CM Punk. Not on this show, pal. Okay? Welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin. I am the Duke, and yes, I enjoy doing pro wrestling impersonations, and I'm going to keep on doing them no matter what my illustrious producer, the Boston bad boy Iron Mike Pelosi, says.
I want to see you do these impressions to people sitting in the room. Like do an impression of a wrestler who's sitting there, and then I can watch him rip your head clean from your shoulders.
Do you think he'll give me a standing ovation, or you think he'll give me like an elbow drop or something?
Yeah, I think the Stone Cold Stunner is more
right.
coming your way.
I don't want that. Listen, I'm so glad you folks could join us this week. We have a new set of your fan-submitted questions, a.k.a. Ask Duke. We also have a special guest, the Professor, Dusty Wolfe. He joins us to talk about enhancement talents, his great book, and all the old days stuff there. All of that, plus we're going to run the ropes. But before we get to any of that, I want to thank you folks, okay? You continue to listen to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. You listen to me put up with the Boston bad boy Iron Mike Pelosi. You're spreading the word all over the world. And listen, if you haven't already, please take a moment, head over to iTunes, give us a review. How about a 5-star review? Okay. You can also ask us some questions there. Anything you want. Talk about the show. That's why we're here. We're going to get better because you're going to give us some information. Now, hey, what if you don't have iTunes? Well, you do have YouTube, don't you? So head over to YouTube. Subscribe to the show Duke Loves Rasslin. Give us a review there as well. Say hello. You name it. That's why we're here, folks. Okay? That's right. It's time to run the ropes. I give my opinion on the top 5 stories in the world of professional wrestling. Let's go. Big Sam is coming for you. Listen, when I check out Middle Kingdom Wrestling on YouTube, I get so excited because I'm seeing the monster Brits. We're talking about Big Sam. He's destroying all of his opponents left and right. Well, word on the street is he's set to dominate WrestleStar 3, a.k.a. the 2-day pro wrestling extravaganza that's happening on November 18th and 19th, live at the Pattaya Boxing World Stadium in Thailand. I'm telling all of you wrestlers right now, okay, listen up. You Middle Kingdom Wrestling China wrestlers, you ABC Pro Wrestling Thailand wrestlers, you Kingdom Wrestling Federation wrestlers in Thailand, even Wrestle Square India wrestlers. You better watch your back because Big Sam is coming for you. And that goes double for that punk selfie king. Randy Orton still not cleared to wrestle. Yep, folks, Randy Orton was scheduled to wrestle at WWE Backlash over the weekend, but they had to pull him out at the last second because he was not cleared by the medical professionals. Now, this stems for the injuries that he suffered at SummerSlam at the hands of Brock Lesnar. So Orton has to wait before he'll be cleared to wrestle again. This is unfortunate. I know the Boston bad boy, he is wagging his finger over there. And, he feels passionate about this topic, especially Brock Lesnar.
Well, it's not even passionate. The guy's a borderline criminal.
Oh, just give me a break.
He injured the guy, and now he's costing him money.
Yeah, well, I'm sure if Vince McMahon could do this over again, he probably wouldn't have allowed that to happen.
Yes, he would, because he loves those checks rolling in.
Oh, just hit the bell. T.J. Perkins is the king of the cruiserweight world? Yep, you heard it here, folks. T.J. Perkins, he is the man that was formerly known as Manic and Suicide in TNA. Well, guess what? He defeated Metallic for the inaugural Cruiserweight Classic in the WWE. That's that 32-man tournament. to crown the top cruiserweight on the planet. T.J. Perkins won it. Now, look, the Duke loves guys like Gentleman Jack Gallagher, Rich Swann, even Kota Ibushi, okay? Those were my picks to potentially win this tournament, and instead they gave it to that T.J. Perkins. I mean, I don't even like the guy, okay? I don't know why they put the top. And even worse, not only did he win the tournament, they put the Cruiserweight Championship on him. Have they lost their ever-loving mind? I sure think so. Alberto Del Rio changes his name again. The wrestler formerly known as Alberto Del Rio in the WWE has officially changed his name back to Alberto El Patron. That's right. And we're not talking about the drink, by the way. Okay? Since he left the WWE, he's officially back in Mexico. And down there, he can't use the Alberto Del Rio name, so he's going to call himself El Patron once again. I'm telling each and every one of you right now, okay, Alberto El Patron is going to put on some of the best wrestling matches on the planet in the next year, and WWE will be on their knees. They're going to be begging. They're going to be begging for Alberto to come back. Will Paige be back in the WWE? Former WWE Divas champion and Alberto Del Rio's girlfriend, Paige, has taken to Twitter. She personally has set the record straight. Not only did she not test positive for drugs, but she'll also be back in the WWE ring once her injuries heal up. Okay? Now, Paige has been serving a 30-day suspension for violating the WWE wellness policy, but she claims her violation was due to her not getting the sample in on time. Okay? Things that make you go, In addition, she says, contrary to what the dirt sheets have been saying, she's going to wrestle again in the WWE so everyone can stop spreading rumors. Well, listen, most of you fans don't believe her, but I do. That's right, okay? I'm going to take Paige at her word because I don't think she has a reason to lie to us, all right? You've heard what I think about Paige. You've heard what I think about all the topics here in the world of professional wrestling. It's time for you to sound off. Head over to Facebook. Head over to Twitter at Duke Loves Rasslin. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? That's Run the Ropes, folks. That's what we're talking about here. Up next, we take a trip down memory lane with the legendary Dusty Wolfe.
You're locked in to Duke Loves Rasslin. Join Duke's Rasslin crew on Facebook for more exclusive content. Now, back to the show.
We had a great talk last week with the trainer of champions, Rudy Boy Gonzalez. I mean, listen, he covered everything from breaking in with the legendary Joe Blanchard, his thoughts on Shawn Michaels, and even why he never imagined Daniel Bryan would have made it to the top of the pro wrestling world. Head over to Duke Loves Rasslin on iTunes or YouTube and listen to episode 22 to hear Rudy's amazingly honest interview. Now, folks, this week we have one of the most trusted wrestlers in the history of the business and also a close friend of Rudy's. Here's a guy that big names like Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Dusty Rhodes, and Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, they all loved to wrestle him. Know why? Because he always made them look good in the ring. Now, what's his secret? I don't know, but I'm going to ask him. So without further ado, welcome the Professor, Dusty Wolfe. How are you, Dusty?
I'm doing real good. How about yourself?
Oh, my man, another day in paradise. That's what I always say.
It.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, we're going to talk about your amazing career and all of the great folks that you've wrestled and some of the ups and downs, the highs and lows of the professional wrestling business in general. But what I want to jump into is, how is retirement? How is life after wrestling?
It's a lot better than I ever thought it would be.
Oh, yeah?
I won't lie to anybody. I spent so many years in the same trap as so many, thinking this is all I have. And then once I just decided that that's wrong, I have choices, and I started taking them. I have no regrets about cutting my ties and keep walking. None at all.
I hear you. You know, so many people don't prepare themselves.
Well, I didn't either. Especially the generation I came from. We don't ever think the curtain's going to go down. We don't ever think the band's going to quit playing. And then there are some of us that even if we realize that someday the body fails, we get an ego enough or the reality enough, combination of the two, that we're going to have a job in the back. And the only problem is there's no in the back anymore.
Now, when you say in the back, you're talking about the business side of pro wrestling.
Right,
yes.
Booker, helping run the towns,
Yep.
you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When you still had the promotions, every office needed 2, 3, 4 of those guys. Now there's Vince, and that's just about it.
That's a very good point. What did you set yourself up with doing once your in-ring career was over? What have you been doing with yourself since then?
Well, I went back to college to begin with.
Oh, wow.
I knew there was no digging a ditch at 50. There's nothing wrong with the job. It's just you're not going to do it after nearly 30 years of tearing your body up and that sort of thing. So if I couldn't use my body, that left my mind, and if I was hoping there was enough left, and I went back to college. And in the very beginning, I had absolutely no clue. None. I just knew that I was going to have to get a college degree and make it work somehow. And after getting my first degree, I majored in business. I looked around me and I saw all these folks half my age flipping burgers and tossing pizzas with business degrees. And I'm like, that's not for me either.
Wow.
So I went on for my bachelor's, and I had some really good history instructors while I was in college, and I decided, if they can do this, I can too. And I'd always enjoyed history, so I ended up with my graduate degree in history, and I've been teaching college myself for about 2 years now.
That is excellent. Wow, you're teaching college, so does that make you? Are you a professor or adjunct professor?
Adjunct, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I stopped right before the full-blown PhD and all that because I looked at the rate of return on the investment. At the point in time, I would actually see a PhD, and I'm like, if I was 30 or 40 when I finished, great, I'd go for it. I'd tough it out. I'd do the 2 foreign languages and all that other that you have to do for a PhD. When I sit there and say, I'll be pushing 60 when I'm done.
Wow.
No, that's just not worth it. The ego's big, but it's not that big.
Yes, sir. Well, there you have it there, folks. Dusty Wolfe is living proof that there is life after wrestling, and it's interesting. Do you find that there's a correlation between what goes on in the wrestling business as far as how you interact in the ring and what have you, and education in general?
Meaning, I kind of have a drift where you're headed, but which direction you hit? Because
you have to.
Go ahead.
You have to talk to each other in the ring, and at times when someone is not as experienced as you are, you kind of have to bring them along. You have to lead them. That's a form of education.
That became my job in the wrestling business the last 10, 12 years of my career.
Oh, what's that? What were you doing there?
I wasn't in any schools, but everybody that hired me, they were hiring me to help get their young guys that were coming out of the schools and shine them up and try to teach them something and lead them by the hand and that sort of thing. And so, that part was a natural progression.
Yes, sir. So that means you're a natural educator in that regard. So it makes sense.
I don't know about natural, but I fell into.
Yes, sir. What a modest man. Well, now that we know what's going on today, let's take a step back here.
Okay.
How did you break into the wrestling business, and who are some of the folks that you credit for teaching you how to work the right way?
Well, that list goes on because it didn't stop just when it's not like you have a school and you're done. But I started here in San Antonio. I started training when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ken Johnson was the first person to ever work out with me.
Ken Johnson, that name keeps popping up, I'll tell you.
Well, he's never left here, but he was one of those guys that, God forbid, if he'd have just had a little more ambition about leaving home, people would know who he is everywhere.
Now, Ken Johnson's credited for training people like Rudy Boy Gonzalez and even a guy like Shawn Michaels.
Well, which he did, yeah.
Wow.
Exactly, yeah. He was a good hand, and We were looking, in all honesty, I wasn't even looking for my first match. I was just looking for an opportunity to actually get in a ring and do some training.
Mm.
When we went down to the junction where the Blanchards were running Southwest, and they needed a new piece of fresh meat to feed to the Mongolian Stomper. So I ended up, my first time ever being in a ring was the first time that I actually was in the ring. In fact, there was no such thing as I'd go show up at the school and after a week or two I'm running the ropes and doing high spots. I trained for somewhere around 6-7 months with Kenny on mats and in burned out apartments and
wow,
god awful places, just trying to learn how to do anything.
So they just threw you right in there.
Basically, it was like, do you have your stuff? No. Can you? Here, I got mine. Yeah, da da da. And I'm like, I'm not. I just came down here to get permission to use the ring once or twice a week. And the next thing I know, I had my first match. Yeah.
That is unbelievable. So you basically stumbled into the amazing career that you've had there. Wow.
Well, I planned on stumbling somewhere. I set my path that I wanted to do this. It's just that there was never any plan on where I ended up or how I ended up there. It was my whole life. I just was given an opportunity. I just jumped in and figured that I'll survive somehow.
Wow, that's some sage advice there. That's a heck of a story there. Now your road took you to the pinnacle of wrestling. I mean, you were in the World Wrestling Federation, known as WWE today. How did you make it there?
Well, you have to go back to when I was in Kansas City. Terry Garvin ran that office for a few years. Yep. And I got to know Terry pretty well. And I didn't know anything about Terry personally at the time. I was 21 years old, 22 years old, didn't care. He was a good guy to me. Took care of me whenever it was business time and whatever. So anyway, I'm coming home from working a few shots in Hawaii. And I'm laid over in L.A., and so I'm like, I might as well call and see if Terry's in the office. What have I got to lose?
That's right.
And he got on the phone with me. And when we talked for a few minutes, I remember the conversation. I'm like, I want to come to work for you. So we got guys all over the place want to come to work, blah, blah, blah. I thought, I understand, man. Just if you give me a look, just give me a chance, Terry. Talk whoever you need to talk to, Pat, or whoever you need to talk to.
Now, let me just pause you for a second here. Folks, we're talking about a guy by the name of Terry Garvin, who in his day, he was one of the best, as the wrestlers would say. He was a great hand. He was a guy who could really work in the ring, make other folks look good, and the fans loved him and appreciated him. He transitioned into a back office role in various territories, including the World Wrestling Federation, as we know as WWE. Right. So when you're reaching out to Terry at this point, he's already in the WWF.
Yeah, he's been there for about, I'd say, a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, this was early 87.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last time I had seen him was the middle of 85 when he left to go to the WWF.
Wow.
Yeah, and so anyway, we're talking, and he's like, well, what we can do is, he told me right then, I promise you that you'll probably never get your hand raised, but we can see how busy we can keep you. And I'm basically told him, if the stories I'm hearing are true about paydays, I could care less. Because I know what I'm getting paid per week in Dallas or whatever few territories were left. I had just left Puerto Rico, that sort of thing. And I'm like, if you guys are paying that nightly, 2 nights, I've made my whole week. Why wouldn't I?
Well, give me a rough idea here. What was it like, the average in most of the other territories compared to WWF as far as the payoffs were concerned?
Oh, by that time it was night and day. Vince overpaid in the beginning when he first started the invasion, the Hulkamania and all. He overpaid, but he did that on purpose for obvious reasons. When wrestling was still hot and he hadn't started killing off the territories, Joe Crockett hadn't started killing off the territories even more than Vince, a man could still make a living in a place like Memphis or Dallas. You could still get you $600,000-$800,000 a week in early '80s money, mid '80s money.
Wow, that's good. That's good money.
It's not great money when you're trying to support a family and they're not always with you, but it's much better than it sounds like when you hear what guys are making today. Yeah, and by the time the late '80s rolled around, the few places that were left open, there was no reason to be there.
It was that bad, huh?
Yeah, Memphis was paying $40-$50 a night, or guaranteeing $40-$50 a night. Dallas, they had taken over Dallas, so they were doing the same thing.
Wow.
Now, what was
I don't know
WWF
what
paying?
Well, they had $200 minimum for everybody.
Wow, that's a big difference.
So you just do the math. Yeah, just do the math. Your guarantee per night is the same as 5 nights on the road in Memphis.
So, of course, you're going to go to the WWF no matter what the job is. That just makes sense. Now, let me ask you a question. You said that Terry Garvin, the legendary Terry Garvin, told you that he can't promise you that you're going to get your hand raised.
I promise you probably never will. That's the way he put it.
But he promised you that he'll try to get you some consistent work. What did he mean by that? So if you're not getting your hand raised, it means you're not winning the match. But
I knew I was going to go and do the job. Which who cares?
So when you say do the job, can you explain to our listeners what that means?
Putting people over, yeah.
Yep.
You're there to make them look good. Sometimes on TV, it's not. You're not much. So some nights I've looked at some of the old tapes recently because my boys go through and get them and stuff. And some of them I had some competitive matches, and some of them I'm like, Jesus, I didn't even put my hands up. But that was what we were paid to do.
You were paid to make the other talent look good.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I couldn't do my job, if I wasn't capable, they wouldn't have brought me back time and again. They wouldn't have been putting me in house shows and that sort of thing.
I can attest to this fact here. As a young man growing up in Boston, Massachusetts, I can remember waking up early on Saturday mornings, making sure I got all my chores done or what have you, and yep, and then plop myself right in front of that TV. And the WWF had 2 syndicated wrestling programs.
Yeah, Challenge and Superstars.
You got it. Wrestling Challenge and WWF Superstars. And I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, Dusty Wolfe was a regular face on both of those shows.
That was probably a 2-year period. I was on there more than the guys that were supposed to be on there.
Absolutely.
And that wasn't by design either. It was just every time I turned around, my name was on the board.
Yeah, well, that's a testament to the type of respect that they had for you. Who are some of the bigger names of guys that enjoyed working with you, or they made sure that they put in the ring with you back then?
I never had any complaints, so I don't guess there was anybody I could say that stood out. They seemed to like what I could do with Jake, and they seemed to like the way I worked with the Rockers.
Now, when you say Jake, are you talking about Jake the Snake Roberts? What was it like wrestling that guy?
That was a night off. It was a night off. I mean, it was just, you go in, he was such a master at what he did. And of course, we weren't going long either. So it wasn't any of that problem. And he was such a master at getting what he wanted over at that moment that all you had to do was just step by step, and they were done.
Wow.
We're out of there.
Wow, it made it look easy, right?
Much easier than working with Marty and Shawn, and Marty and Shawn were easy to work with, but it was go, go, go with those two.
Marty Jannetty and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, known as the Rockers at that time, one of the hottest tag teams back in the mid '80s there. So you said because they were faster paced in the ring. Oh my
God, yeah. There were times where I was like, if this wasn't a TV camera rolling, I'd just lay down and make you pick me up. I'm about to die here.
Now the Rockers, in a situation like that where you have an opponent that works really fast, are you talking about the match before, like in the back, or are you calling everything in the ring?
Both.
Okay.
With guys like that, you have to do both, and it's TV, so you have to do. But that's the only time in my entire career I ever did it until like the last. Oh, even in the last few years when guys were coming up and what are we going to do? I said, I don't know what's in it. They'd give to so and so. Okay, and I'd leave them. I'd walk off. I'd make them. I'd refuse to talk to them because I refuse to plan it out. Except for there's TV cameras and God knows how many millions of dollars invested in that TV. I'm not doing it. That's just not what I did. That's not what we were trained to do. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, in a situation like that, when you're talking about you've got 5 minutes and you've got to do this, you've got to get this point across, we would do both.
That's pretty interesting there because it's tough. You have the crowd in the arena making so much noise, and yet you would be in the ring with your opponent and you're communicating with them what the next move is going to be on the fly. How did that feel? I mean, were there times where you didn't catch a cue, or your opponent didn't catch a cue?
Everybody had that happen on occasion. I mean, when you consider how many times we would be in the ring in a career, yeah, it happened on occasion. But for the most part, I would say 95% or better at the time. It was what we did. It was just like any other craft. Those guys know what they're doing. You or I couldn't walk in there and do it, but they can walk up and just start doing it, and that was us.
Wow. You were a real mechanic, as they would say there, which is a big compliment.
You had to be.
Yes, sir. Now, tell us about, because you said that you were around there in the mid-'80s, and there was a good 2-year period where you were really on TV pretty much every week. Talk to us about Hulk Hogan, because that's in the middle, going towards the end of the first major Hulkamania run in the WWF.
Yeah, I hit it right at the peak. I went in right at the very peak.
Wow. So what was that like? What was that like?
As far as the business in general, and the money, the fan reactions. This is when I realized, even if I wasn't smart to everything going on, this is when I realized it's Hulk Hogan, it's Vince McMahon, and it's everybody else. That part, I'll say, I said it then, I'll say it anytime. As far as business goes, especially up until about 90, 89, 90, when did the movie come out? 89, so about 90.
Mm-hmm.
Up to about 90, you could literally tell the difference in just in your paycheck whether Hogan had been in the town that night or not.
Wow. So if Hogan wrestled, you got more money.
Exactly, because we were all paid on the gate in those days.
Oh.
And, so your percentage, even if it was just, like my case, it would be the smallest of the percentages. Let's say it was a $500 check in Austin, Texas, without Hogan. Hogan shows up, I got $800.
Wow.
Same building, same match, same spot on the card, that sort of thing. So that's how much he meant in revenue to wrestling in general in those days. I think people tend to underestimate that today.
Yeah, it's funny because you have this new generation of wrestling fan. They don't realize how hot Hulk Hogan was back then.
He carried everything, and everybody followed. Including the WCW and what few little offices were remaining. Everybody followed.
Yep.
It's just that simple.
Wow, that's very interesting there. We had Rudy Boy Gonzalez on last week.
Yeah.
And he made it a point to credit you for helping him get into the WWF, and said that you're a good friend of his to this day.
Man. He's got his own. He's a cranky old man like me, but we've been good friends since we were teenagers.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, Rudy started right about a year and a half after I did. So he was probably about 18, 19 at the time, too.
Wow. How did you get to a point where you were in a role where you could help your friend Rudy Boy Gonzalez get into the WWF?
Well, let's see, by about that time, I'd been in the business about 8, 9, 10 years. I had not WWF, but a lot of people trusted me enough with my decision making or my recommendations that they would ask me when they needed people. Or that's about the same time I began booking for Steve Ricard overseas and stuff. So yeah, it was one of those things to where even at my wildest, and I wasn't the one that was laying in a corner in the dressing room or whatever. And whenever it was time to take care of business, they knew they could trust me to take care of things.
Wow, that's a pretty big compliment. So not only were you trusted to help other wrestlers get over in the ring, but you also were essentially treated as a talent scout.
It's kind of like an assistant to the assistant, yeah.
I hear that.
But yeah, and then in the smaller places, even more so. And that's part of the way I survived after I left New York.
When you say that's how you survived, how was that? What do you mean by that?
Well, I would help with any place that was viable, and then they would ask. I would help, whether it was with talent or help with booking, or like I say, I booked for Steve Ricard like 7 or 8 trips over a 10, 12-year period.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Now, we talked about Hulk Hogan, who was really just a megastar in the 80s. He was it. but you also spent some time in the NWA territory and even later on in WCW.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Ric Flair, who's considered one of the greatest of all time.
I have nothing but good things to say about him. I mean, I've heard, like everybody else, I've heard all the stories down through the years, but he never treated me with anything but respect. He was respected. I got to where I knew him fairly well when I was in Kansas City, Florida, and they were all still working together.
Okay.
That's when I got to really know him. And he would come in, and he would ride with me, or ride with Tommy Lane, who was probably my roommate one time.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see there was a stark difference in the styles, but Flair still fit what the old NWA wanted, with a traveling champion that could come in, get the local over while still being the world champ, whereas Hogan was just a steamroller.
Got it. So Ric Flair would actually take a talent and allow them to get a lot of offense on him in order to make them look good. So later on, when he would leave, there would still be people going to see that other person who almost beat the world champion Ric Flair.
That was the theory, exactly.
But Hogan would just eat you up. He just beat you.
That was his job.
Yep.
That was also the bookend theory of the old WWF with Senior, and the old theory of the NWA for as long as the NWA had been around.
Mm-hmm.
That was that contrast that existed, 61's when Vince broke away, and right after World War II. So however far back those dates go, that's been the theory for those two offices.
Wow.
And all it was just a national stage now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you had television, pay-per-view. You really hit big back at that time, and you were right in the middle of that stuff there. Now,
it was just taking off. The pay-per-view was just taking off during the time I was still there.
Wow. Now, let me ask you, because there were other characters during that time period who were beloved characters who were there to help as an enhancement talents, get these bigger guys over. Guys like the Brooklyn Brawler,
yep,
and even Iron Mike Sharp.
Mike was a character. There's no two ways about that. He was. That's just the best way, but he was a character. He was the class himself.
Yes, sir. So if we put the Brooklyn Brawler, Iron Mike Sharp, and Dusty Wolfe in a match together, who's coming out on top?
Well, depends on who's got the pencil.
But
if I'm booking, I am. But no, seriously, as far as who are we talking about, who would do the territory more good later?
Sure.
It's a toss-up between me and Mike.
You got it. Yeah, Iron Mike Sharp was another guy who was always on TV. I mean, literally always on TV.
Not saying anything against Steve, but Steve was just more, I don't know. It's a tough question. I'll stick with my original answer.
Yes, sir.
But it's not a knock on anybody either.
Now you, not only were you a person who was a great talent in the ring, you were a guy who helped a lot of other people out, make them look good and what have you, and that's why you continue to get consistent work. You actually wrote a book.
Yeah.
You wrote a book by the name of The Wrestling Journeyman, The Life and Times of an Indie Pro Wrestler. Now, folks, that's available on Amazon.com, and you can head over to Amazon.com, just type in Dusty Wolfe, and you'll find this book here, The Wrestling Journeyman. Talk to us about that book. How did that come about there?
Well, I was talked into the one years ago, and that one I wasn't as proud of, but it's out there. And then the wife talked to me and said, you really should set the record straight on some things and just be honest about some things that you couldn't be when you were still wrestling. And so that's what I did. I went in, I straightened up some of the things from the first one, added some new stories, some improved stories, so to speak. And added some perspective from looking back, not having to worry about whether I'm going to make a paycheck next week or not. And I'm happy with it.
Yes, sir. So now you mentioned your wife, who really is just a very fantastic person. We definitely want to give her a shout out. Talk to us about your family, because in the wrestling business, because you guys are on the road so much, there's a lot of sacrifice that the families have to give.
They're almost victims at times.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you're actually making some money, you can't be concerned with ball games and band and even birthdays and stuff sometimes. You really can't. And kids become, the family and wives too, become victims because we have to go back out after that dollar.
Good point. Good point.
And that's why that like I say, if these guys the George Steeles have been married for 50 years or whatever. I don't know if she's a saint or he just knows where the bodies are buried or what. But God bless them.
George the Animal Steele. That's right. That's right.
I don't know how they did it. I got lucky after the fact. I was already done when I found my wife, and she keeps me on pretty even keel most days.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And what about the kids?
Looking at in my backyard.
What about the kids there? Give a shout out to the whole household there.
Well, I've got Brett. He's my oldest, and then there's Cody, my daughter, right after him. And Ethan is the middle son. That's the one that nearly drove me off the edge a couple of times.
Oh.
He was the wild one. And then I've got the 3-year-old Grant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we want to give a special shout out and a thank you to Dusty Wolfe's entire family there, because you shared him with us. And,
exactly. They put up with more than most anybody would know.
I hear that.
I don't even understand how much they put up with sometimes.
You know, you keeping the family together the way that you have, and still having the type of great career that you have. What advice would you give to younger talent in terms of how to make that work with the family there?
Don't get married. Don't have children until you know you're going to make it or not. It is a completely different world, but that one piece of advice doesn't change. Just don't have the family until you see if it's happening or not. And if it's happening, you can make your choices from there. You make a choice, you have the family, be at home as much as you can.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. That's great advice there. Now, before we let you go, Dusty, you know I got to bring this up.
Okay.
There was a period while you were in the WWF where a guy by the name of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, was brought into the WWF.
Right.
And they had a conundrum on their hand. They had two guys named Dusty.
Right.
So you actually had a match with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And folks, if you head over to Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, I'm actually going to post the match so you can see, because this is a really a classic match here. But when they announced you in the match, you weren't Dusty Wolfe, you were Dale Wolfe.
Oh, that's my middle name.
Oh, okay.
And I had already faced this problem in Florida. When I went into Florida a few years before, as one of the Hollywood Blondes with Ken Tim, Eddie Graham says, I can't call you Dusty. What's my name? Well, we can't do it. Well, okay, then let's just use my middle name instead of creating all this other. And so that's when I ended up in New York, I guess 5 years later when Dusty showed up. And it was the same thing. It was either Bruce Pritchard or Howard Finkel looked at me and says, we can't call you Dusty anymore. I've already been here 2-3 years, but I don't know that the people can't tell us apart. But I understand in the same match, blah, 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 so just use my middle name. And they stuck for a little while after that. I think I used it until I actually left.
Yes, that was really interesting there. So they were afraid of having two Dusties, so they had you go by Dale. But yet, you know, I got to be honest with you. Dusty Wolfe was pretty good, but that Dale, let me tell you something. I saw a match, and folks, we're going to post that on the Facebook as well at Duke Loves Rasslin. I saw a match with it was Dale Wolfe versus Kurt Hennig, a.k.a. Mr. Perfect, and he had Bobby the Brain Heenan as his manager on the outside. You gave him the toughest 6 minutes of his career in that match.
The guys got to where they trusted me, for one thing. And another is if you just may let it look like I'm coming along somehow, I can actually give you some competition. And what good does it keep sending me out?
That's right. That's right. I mean, he was flying all over the ring for you. At one point, he walked out of the ring with what the wrestlers called, he took a powder because you had fired up and you had thrown him around so much, he just had to take a break there.
Yeah, like I said, there were some of the shows I look at, I'm like, God, what was I even doing there? And then there were other nights where I'm like, I kept up with whoever.
Yeah, listen, on that night, Curt Hennig made you Ric Flair, because I mean, boy, when I tell you, yeah, he was really good.
Was real good about that.
Listen, shout out to and rest in peace to the great Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. And like I said, folks, we're going to post that match so you can really see Dusty at his best, because it was just, like I said, 6 minutes of some of the best stuff you'll see. It'll stand up against current stuff. That's how good it was there. Dusty, let the fans know how they can reach out to you if they want to thank you for all you've done for the pro wrestling business, check out your book, or just say hello.
Well, yeah, there's the book. It's on Amazon. Like you say, just type in my name there on Amazon. It comes up, and it's right there. They could buy that. I'm always on Facebook. I've got a Twitter. I don't know anything about the Twitter. My wife runs all that. But whenever there's a reply from me, it is me. I just let her do the typing.
Got it.
Yeah, I do as little technology as humanly possible. But between the Twitter and the Facebook, that's probably the two easiest ways to find me.
Excellent.
Like I say, the book on Amazon.
Excellent. Are you still taking bookings, like signings and things of that nature?
Nobody's invited me. It's like when I decided to walk away, I have stayed in contact with some few friends, and I talk to them not nearly enough. But it's almost as if out of sight, out of mind, which doesn't really bother me.
I hear that.
You know, it doesn't. I would gladly do a few, but I know I haven't. I've been retired 5 years now and I haven't done one.
Just because you said that, here on the Duke Loves Rasslin Podcast, we're putting out a challenge. I'm reaching out to my friend Steve Stasiak at bookprowrestlers.com. Steve Stasiak, you're going to reach out to Dusty Wolfe. Let's see if we can get some signings going, get some business going for the legend there, okay?
I'm glad to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Steve Stasiak, you're going to be hearing from me soon. We're going to get Dusty Wolfe some bookings there. Listen,
all right.
Dusty, on behalf of all of your fans, seriously, and once again, just even talking to you is so amazing, because I was a little kid sitting there on Saturday mornings in my PJs watching you, and I got to tell you, I was never – see, this is interesting. There were some guys that you would root against, no matter, especially when the good guys are in the ring. I never rooted against Dusty Wolfe for some reason, just because you just looked like a regular guy from the neighborhood who, if anything, it felt like an underdog. So even when you were going up against some of the other talents there was always that feeling of, man, I wonder if Dusty's going to pull something off tonight. It's interesting. So thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts there for making the business even better by actually putting your ego aside and doing great business.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I don't know if it was some kind of. I honestly don't know that I could be given credit for putting it aside. I just realized that the ego doesn't pay the bills, won't raise the sun ahead of time.
Yes, sir.
So I just made sure I was trying to get as much of a paycheck in as I could, doing what I enjoyed doing.
Well, those are great priorities there. Listen, we're definitely going to have you back on the show sometime in the not-too-distant future. Thank you for everything, Dusty.
Sounds great. That'll work.
Up next, the Boston Bad Boy has more of your listener-submitted questions, a.k.a. Ask Duke. But before we get to any of that, I want to remind you to head over to Barnyard Cheese. That's right, Barnyard Cheese over at 149 Avenue C between 9th and 10th Streets in New York City. You know, Boston Bad Boy, last week I told you about the Figgy Piggy. Hey, Figgy Piggy. Hey, Figgy Piggy.
Yeah, I believe we had a long conversation about that after the show.
Yeah, we
starving again every time. Just this point in the show, we're like 2/3 of the way through. You start reading about cheese, and then I'm getting hangry.
Well, you're about to get even hangrier, my friend, because this week it is all about now get this, the French picnic.
Oh.
Oui, bonjour. Comment allez-vous?
Pepe Le Pew. That's the only about French I learned
I
from
was
Pepe Le
going to
Pew.
say, how about remember the little bird song? Alouette, gentil
true,
alouette. Yeah, see, I know my French, Jack. Come on. Now listen, check these ingredients out. Matarange ham, Grand Reserve Gruyere.
Ooh,
that's right.
Gruyere.
Soft, creamy butter. Cornichons, those are those delicious little mini pickles.
Oh,
my goodness,
yeah.
I love the
It can go through a whole
cornichons.
jar.
That's right. And this is all on a French baguette.
Makes me want to picnic in front of the Louvre.
Oh, boy. Can you imagine?
Have a nice sandwich.
Yes. Well, listen, stop depriving yourself of deliciousness. Visit barnyardcheese.com for more info. Enjoy.
Hey guys, this is Chelsea, the wrestling fan, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Man, was that a fun interview with Dusty Wolfe or what?
Yeah, he was good. I mean, that's the guy was totally pro.
I'm telling you, man, it's amazing. And he wrote that book. Definitely, folks, you got to head over to Amazon, check out Dusty's book. I mean, he's a great guy.
It's like when you see someone playing guitar, you see a guy like Clapton or like Mark Knopfler. You know, you watch them play. It looks they make it look easy, and they're just pros. That's just what they do. And the way he was like, yeah, it's just what we do.
That's
it.
It
Looked great because I don't know, that's what we do.
He was born to do it. Now, what are you going through puberty there? You got to
I know.
clear out your throat.
I think I had a little glass of water.
Some water over there.
Someday. And people don't know, but I use a voice changer on the show to give myself this nice low register.
That's right. All right. This man is not the Boston Bad Boy. Is not Barry White, folks. So he uses a voice
stop
changer.
that.
Yeah, he uses a voice changer for himself to give him his voice some body. Meanwhile, he.
I'm never
puts
gonna
me
give
up.
you up.
Oh, brother. All right. Get on with the questions, please. What do you got for
All
this?
right, let's see what we got. This week I didn't look at the questions because every week you screw me over on the questions. Anyway,
right.
So the first question comes from MS Magic, related to MS Paint, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. MS Word or something?
MS Word.
Listen.
Miss Pac-Man, maybe.
All
Is that
right.
Miss Magic or MS?
So Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bill Gates is listening to the show, obviously.
Clearly.
Okay, because, MS, Microsoft. We caught you, Billy.
Yeah.
We caught you.
I think you have a better chance of Steve Jobs listening to this show than
Oh,
Bill
my
Gates.
goodness. Stop it.
All
Yeah.
right.
But I think it's Miss Magic. There.
Miss. Okay. Well, all right. But the MS is capitalized,
Oh.
unless that was
Wow.
unless
I
that
don't
was
know
the
what she's
internet.
doing. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Magic.
There you go.
So the question is, when was the last time we had a real classic moment in pro wrestling? Something on the level of Hulk and Andre, or Heartbreak Kid winning the title from Brett? Something really big.
Wow. It's interesting. That's a great question. That's a great question. Ms. Magic or Bill Gates. I know it could be you, Bill Gates. I know it could be you.
Just answer the question.
Hulk Hogan and Andre. WrestleMania 3. That's just a major moment, probably the biggest moment in the history of pro wrestling, right? Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid, beating Bret Hart at WrestleMania. The boyhood dream has been achieved. That's another major moment. When we think of groundbreaking moments in the history of pro wrestling, they're few and far between. So I would have to say when Daniel Bryan,
here we go.
when Daniel Bryan won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and he was standing in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania and everyone's chanting his name, his parents were in the crowd. I mean, it was amazing because he beat the odds. I mean, he beat Triple H. He beats... Who was it that he beat, actually, for that last one? I believe that was Roman Reigns, too. This guy, Daniel Bryan, wrestled 2 matches in one night, overcame all the odds, won the title. That was probably the last major moment in pro wrestling, and I'm sure there will be others to come. But like I said, they're few and far between.
I'm just glad that Daniel Bryan's done wrestling so I don't have to listen to your love fest for him
Listen,
anytime you bring his name up.
I'm
It's
going
just
to tell you
sickening.
something right now. I'm really getting sick and tired of you making fun of Daniel Bryan. I mean,
I
the
didn't
guy's
make
a
fun.
legend.
I said I'm sick and tired of you.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm making fun of you.
Listen, but whether he is not able to wrestle anymore or not, he will still put you in a hole, twist you up like a pretzel, Jack. I'm telling you right now, Boston Bad Boy.
Here's my thought on this, on the big events in wrestling, and you can probably answer this. Do you think that these big moments, Hulk and Andre, all those moments that were obviously put together, there's obviously a thrust behind it, just like there is in modern times. But do you think that those moments had an element unexpected by anybody there? It was the right energy from the crowd that night. It was the right time on TV. It was the right two guys that, you could put any two guys and tell them to do X, Y, and Z, but those two guys had a moment, and it was the right place. In other words, you can't, the WWE can't craft a moment. They have to just do, those moments actually just happen organically.
It's like baking a cake. when you're talking about major
how
moments
hungry
in pro
I am.
wrestling, I'm telling you, we always talk about food, but it's like baking a cake. You can put all these ingredients in here, and you can have an expectation, but in the end, it's really a crapshoot. And some cakes are better than a lot of others. And you're absolutely right. It has to be organic to a degree, because you could have never predicted that an underdog like Daniel Bryan would set the world on fire the way that he did, to the point where the entire arena is standing up and chanting yes, 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 and people are crying because he won the championship. I mean, it's just huge. But, another thing, each one of these moments that we're talking about, what do they have in common? They happened at WrestleMania.
Interesting.
The biggest event, the biggest stage of the year.
Right. So you could think that when we're putting together WrestleMania, we want big things to happen.
Absolutely.
But it does. I mean, there are moments in WrestleMania that are forgettable.
Yes, most of the moments in WrestleMania.
Exactly right.
Let's be honest.
So like you said, they can only do so much, and I think that these moments have to happen organically. And I think there's an element of nostalgia that sort of as the years go by, makes these moments sort of even better and bigger.
Yep.
So, because even in the moment, when something develops organically or something sort of improv happens that makes the moment better, the hype machine kicks in after
Absolutely.
the fact. So, you start to relive that, and then you go, wow, looking back on it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, great question.
Yes, absolutely. And now we go on to, let's see here. Oh brother. Next question comes from Double B McGee.
Double B McGee. What?
Double B McGee.
What does that stand for?
Are you kidding me? Oh, God.
What is that, Big Bunions? Big Bunions McGee. Oh, bad breath.
Well, it sounds like one of those awful McDonald's would have a dud item on the menu. They tried all these different things. Remember in the 90s, they were trying the McDouble or something.
Yep.
They did the Mc... I think they did a McDouble. The McRib has come and gone a few times.
The McRib.
Like the Double B McGee would be like the rip-off version. Coming to America, and the guy owns the rip-off McDonald's.
McDowell's.
Exactly. This sounds like the McDowell's version of a McDonald's.
Double B McGee.
Yeah, so sorry, Double B McGee, but your name is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
I hope his question's not ridiculous.
Yeah, let's see. The question is, last week, this is good. Oh, that's right. This is good. I highlighted this. Last week, Duke, you said that Becky Lynch would never be champion, yet she won the SmackDown Women's title this past weekend. And the question is, great, how does it feel to be wrong?
No, this is a loaded piece of nonsense that I've ever heard here.
I love it because you went on such a tirade about how she doesn't have any confidence, and she doesn't know what she just needs her confidence, and then she'll be able to. And then look, she's got the belt on and the whole bit. Tell everybody, me especially, how does it feel?
Well, listen, first and foremost, okay, let me get something straight. Double B McGee. I don't have a problem with. I like Becky Lynch. Okay, I think Becky Lynch
didn't sound like it last week.
Hey, give me a break here. Especially when she was in NXT for that last go round, leading up to her making it to the main roster. I actually cheered Becky Lynch on. I thought she had some really solid matches with both Charlotte and Sasha Banks in particular. So let me just get that out of the way.
I love how you have to go through a whole tirade about why you like Becky Lynch when it's very simple. You know the reason why I like Becky Lynch.
Yeah,
well, it's very simple. I don't have to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, because she's a good wrestler, hopefully. But anyway, with all of that said, okay, just because they put the title on her does not make me wrong, okay?
No, it does make you wrong because you said and I wish I could call up the audio here, she will never win the title. I believe, I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's what you said.
So listen, so Vince McMahon heard what I had to say.
Oh yeah, okay.
And to just stick it in my face.
Yeah, oh yeah. Because you're real high on his list of things he's worrying about.
I am. Shouldn't I be? Listen, but when you put the title on a talent, it's either one or two reasons. Number one, because the title has lost its luster, its importance, and you need a big-time name to make the title important again. It's like, look at a guy like John Cena. Mm-hmm. John Cena never has to be a champion ever again, okay? But when you put a title on him, it means something because John Cena is a big name.
How does this relate to Becky?
Well, Becky Lynch. On the flip side, you can put a title on a talent who needs a boost. They need to be pushed up. So when in a case like a Becky Lynch, she needs a boost. She needs something to help her get her confidence back. So putting the title on her will hopefully put her in a position where she'll start acting right and wrestling right and being somebody again, as opposed to being a person who botches moves in the ring every week.
Is it possible that just your assessment was wrong and they put the title on her because she just worked her way up to it naturally?
No, I don't think that's possible at all. How could I be wrong with my assessment? I'm the Duke. Come on.
Yeah,
stop
all right.
that.
Okay. All
right.
Listen,
Listen, Becky Lynch, I don't care what anybody says. Get your act together. Thanks.
Wow. Strong words.
Hey, look, she's no Sasha Banks. I know that. She's no Asuka. I know that. Okay, let's go. She's no Medusa.
We're moving on.
Yeah,
We're moving on to the next question. We're moving on to the next question.
Tell me I'm wrong. All
right, time for my question.
Oh, my Buddha. Here we go.
All right.
We're going down the wrong path tonight, folks.
Oh, no. Well, this is a good one because this is like, this story, again, this is one of those stories that was not just limited to the world of professional wrestling.
Just do me a favor and take it easy this week, okay? Take it easy. Don't go too far.
Listen, I'm always easy going here because
right.
I could care less. CM Punk.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
So CM Punk, in case anybody's been living under a rock, he former WWE champion.
Why are you doing this?
He dubbed himself the best in the world. Okay, at one point
he was the best in the world.
Okay, what has he done for me lately? And you're gonna find out what he did for us lately. Yeah. He competed at UFC 203 last Saturday, and he lost to a fella called Mickey Gall, and Gall beat the tar out of him in no uncertain way, shape, or form. And I'm going to let you sort of fill in. I want you to give the listeners a bit of paint a picture of exactly how long that took for him to completely become unraveled as a UFC fighter, because you actually paid the money for it.
Oh, boy.
Where I just wait for the update on social media. But please tell the people how long was the match?
It took less than 3 minutes.
Okay,
it was 2 minutes and change for CM Punk to be put in a position where he had to tap out to Mickey Gall, and yeah, I mean, he had a cauliflower ear from all the punches that he received, and it was pretty nasty.
Have you ever seen a cauliflower ear develop so quickly? It was like a cake rising,
come on, man,
or bread dough on the left on the counter. It just happened. Okay. It was almost as if his body had turned against him after it had been so savagely beaten.
All right, you're gonna just make fun of the poor guy. Here we go.
Well, it wasn't even close. Now, the question I have to you is, a guy as unprepared as CM Punk,
what
does he make pro wrestlers who switch gears into other pro athletics look bad because he made such a spectacle of himself getting his ass handed to him?
All right, hold on. All right, time out. This is not even a fair question to ask here, okay? Because CM Punk, he took a major chance here, okay? The guy is in his early 40s. He's no spring chicken, and we know that in mixed martial arts, which UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, it's a mixed martial arts company. A lot of folks sometimes they mix that up there. It's like Coke. Coke is a type of cola, right?
Really? So, Coke is a type of cola? Just get on with it,
well,
would you?
My point is this, okay? He started pretty late. The guy's had less than 2 years training, coming off of a major injury. I believe he had a neck injury, which, surprise, surprise, he was a wrestler. Of course, he had neck and back issues there. It was a major chance that he took, but he had the testicular fortitude to
that's what you call it?
step into the octagon. That's what you like that, right? And put his body on the line because this was a dream that he had. So, I mean, I tip my hat to the guy. He showed a lot of chutzpah, so to speak, and putting himself out there like that because
you tip your hat to a guy who went completely unprepared, completely outclassed, outleagued, and got totally beaten down. I mean, in an embarrassing display of lack of knowledge of what he was doing. I mean, I wonder if like an 8-year-old kid's karate class could have taken him down after that.
Are you
because he was
kidding me?
just unprepared. What was he doing in there? It's a whole. He had to know that UFC is a whole different style. Okay, from WWE and professional wrestling.
That, wise guy?
Maybe he got too many hits to the head. I don't know, but apparently he went in there and thought what they were going to call moves to each other for the first 10 minutes, and then, well, it'd be nice, a nice gentle takedown.
Let me tell you something. CM Punk, okay, he's a tough guy. He got in that ring. He put it all on the line, okay, because
he should have been a bit more prepared.
He understood what was on the line there. That folks were like,
he understood.
We're going to criticize him.
He understood that it was okay to be a loser because he knew he'd get a payday. He's just going to get a payday no matter what.
World. He is not a loser, my friend.
Yeah, he was the best at eating the mat that night. I'll tell you that right now.
CM Punk put it all on the line.
Yeah, he put his whole check that he got for losing. See, he knew that he wasn't going to have to win. So he went out there, and he didn't care that he's representing a whole class of athlete. He went in unprepared and went for a paycheck, and consequently, not only made himself look like a turd, but he didn't do anything to help anybody's career that he worked with.
First of all, CM Punk is not even a wrestler anymore, okay?
Yeah,
so for you to sit there and try to dump that on his shoulders, don't you put that evil on CM Punk.
I'd love to know what the average age for a UFC fighter is. I'm guaranteeing it's well under 30.
But yeah, it's
okay. So
like
he decides
24.
So he decides to go in double the age and half the experience.
Oh God! Hey, you got to tip your hat to a man who puts it all on the line.
Watch it.
And
you
puts
know what?
His body on the line there. Make it
Here's
happen,
an idea.
Okay?
I could go and stand out front of an MBTA bus right now and get hit by it and collect an insurance. You're going to tip your hat to me because I went and toughed it out and stood in front of a bus? It doesn't make any sense.
CM Punk, we respect you.
No,
you had
don't
a
give
dream.
me this we.
You didn't
Speak
listen
for yourself.
You didn't listen to all the naysayers. Okay, you decided that you were going to put yourself on the line no matter what.
No, he decided he wanted to put himself
you're a real
over.
Man.
Did you watch the all the way to the end? You saw the whole the sort of the post match.
I was very upset about it because of the punishment he took.
Take a listen to this. There's a bit of audio. It might be a little bit hard to listen to, but we'll to hear. But listen to this audio of CM Punk talking to Mickey Gall after the fight. They're sort of in that little huddle that fighters have when they say "good job" or whatever the heck they say to each other. Listen to this.
Always belong. You gotta believe in yourself.
All right. He says you always belong. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
He's the guy that ate it, quite literally ate it. And he walks over to this guy talking about, hey, you got to believe in yourself.
He's being positive. What's wrong with that?
He doesn't be positive somewhere else. This guy just beat his ass. He doesn't need any advice about being positive.
What are you talking about? He's respecting the guy by being positive.
But what, talking down to him, patronizing him?
Okay? Short yourself. Everybody else wants to short you. I believe in myself. You got to believe in yourself.
At this point, I think he's the only one that believes in himself.
Oh,
what is he? He's lecturing this guy.
He's not lecturing the guy.
He's
telling
you
him,
got to believe in
yourself. That's right. That's what we all should be hearing.
Guess what? He did believe in himself, and he put CM Punk almost through the floor of the octagon.
Oh, big deal. So the big MMA guy beat a guy who had less experience.
He's standing there. No. He's standing there just saying, all right, he won. This guy comes over and starts giving him a lecture like the dad who's going to say, you didn't win that time, but keep trying. Even though was it reverse psychology?
Let me tell you something, okay?
Get out
UFC
Get out of here.
went to CM Punk wanted to fight in a smaller federation.
I think CM Punk was too punch drunk. He didn't know. He thought he won.
Right now. No,
I think he thought he won.
He did not think. You're just terrible. He wanted to go in a smaller federation and work his way up. But UFC came to him and said, "Hey, you're CM Punk. You're a big name. Here's some money to make. Let's do it."
There you
go.
CM Punk didn't say. CM Punk. UFC started with, "We have some money for you," And
Yeah.
he just said yes.
Well, why shouldn't he take the money? He's getting
You
his
just
face
said he wanted to
pounded in.
work his way up, so which is it?
Let me tell you something right now, okay? I guarantee you, the fighters who are on that card, when they looked at their paycheck and saw the extra money that they got, they were happy CM Punk was on that card.
I guarantee you that's the last card CM Punk's going to appear on.
No. I guarantee
He's certainly
you
not
he'll
making
be
his way
back.
back to wrestling.
You think this guy's going to give up? He's going to keep fighting because that's the kind of person he
Keep
is.
fighting. He's going to be
okay?
applying for Social Security soon.
Oh my goodness! You're just out of your mind tonight. Okay, you're sitting here. You're putting down a person who decided to put it all on the line because he is a person who believes in himself, and he's preaching to everybody else to believe in
he's
themselves.
preaching to the guy who just whooped him. Tell me when that happens.
Oh,
I could see it being the other way around. All right, you remember Rocky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rocky loses, and then he says there ain't going to be no. I don't want one. There ain't going to be no rematch.
Okay.
All right. So Apollo says there ain't going to be no rematch. Am I right?
Yeah.
And Stallone says I don't want one.
What's your point?
The point is the winner recognized the fight that was put up by the loser, okay? And the winner said, you proved your point. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Rocky saying there ain't going to be no rematch to the guy who just beat him up for 12 rounds. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. You're just unglued here. Okay,
That's just what you say when you know I'm being right.
No,
when I'm right.
You're not being right at all. You're being a guy who wants to pick on somebody who put it all on the line. Okay, he inspired everybody in the world to don't give up on your dreams.
He inspired
even when the odds are against you.
He inspired
don't give up.
everybody to not even have to take a bathroom break at all during that fight because it was so short.
Folks, that's it.
That's how we inspire
We're done with the
people.
Boston Bad Boy. First of all, thank you to Dusty Wolfe for coming on and joining us and giving us a bright spot during this show.
Yeah, they're a real man, a real fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
None of this CM Punk crap.
No, CM Punk, you're a real man. Don't listen to this guy. And if you want to come and bust him up, you're more than welcome.
Come on, you wouldn't do that now.
Join us next week, folks, where we're going to have another special guest. Go on to Facebook. Go on to Twitter. Let us know. Who do you believe in here? Do you believe the Duke is right and CM Punk is a hero? Or do you believe the Boston Bad Boy and CM Punk is less than a hero?